Sir, if you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Jim Kalin. I live at 127 Manningham in Madison 35758.
Welcome.
I am the state director for of cultural life for the Knights of Columbus in Alabama. And I'm here to, first of all, to thank the city of Huntsville and especially the police department for the excellent support we got for the pro-lifers, the Knights of Columbus being a part of that. Recently here, about 3 weeks ago on a Saturday, where we did a March for Life and a peaceful prayer vigil in front of the local abortion facility. The support was very professional. We had some 260 people marching, including representatives from some 15 local churches, many of the clergy, and especially Bishop Emeritus David Foley from Birmingham, who led us in prayer. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank the city and especially the excellent support we got from the police department. We also participate weekly for not marches but peaceful prayer vigils in front of the abortion facility, and that is covered by a permit here that we work with the city on. So I want to thank again the police department for the cooperation we've gotten throughout the year on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Reverend James Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm Reverend James Henderson, 181 Henderson Road, Decatur. As the holder of the current special event reservation for prayer and counseling at the abortion clinic, as Mr. Kalin mentioned, we're there on a regular basis to pray and counsel. Since the very beginning, my wife and I have been holders of that permit or reservation since the very first day. My purpose here tonight is to respectfully address the council with just a few remarks concerning the proposed amendment to Chapter 23, Article 6 of the city's Code of Ordinances concerning the regulation of organized events such as our counseling and prayer. Again, as Mr. Kalin mentioned, we all thank the Huntsville Police Department in particular, Mr. Joffrey and his office for working with us over the years to help protect our constitutional right to be there. Concerning the proposed change, we are looking at it. We and our attorney will be reviewing it over the next few days. We do have some questions. We'll be asking for the opportunity to meet with the department and with the city attorney's office to clarify some of the points about the ordinance. But the main point I'd like to make tonight is not about specific details about the draft, but that it does have the potential to limit what we're already doing now. And what we've been doing now is a pretty fair balance in protecting our rights as well as those of the people who oppose what we're doing. There's still a few, frankly, folks trying to smoke us off the sidewalk with smoke pots and things like that. We do try to respond in love. But our request really is this. Please don't approve any changes that would restrict or limit the terms and conditions of the reservation or permit that we currently hold. It expires at the end of this month. Our goal is to continue with those same terms and conditions from now throughout the future until either the Lord returns or we go home to be with him. Our bottom line is please don't disturb what's working. It's working about as well as it possibly could. So thank you for allowing us to comment tonight. We will be in touch to request a meeting and the opportunity to come back and share more from our review of the ordinance. We don't see any showstoppers We appreciate your working with us. This was hammered out with a lot of effort. Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Joffrey, the chief, and so many people in the department. Let's keep a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. John Phillip?
I'm John Phillip. I live at 163 Firestone Drive in Madison. I am also a Knight of Columbus, and I have been involved with our activities in front of the abortion facility here in Huntsville. I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I would simply like to piggyback off some of the comments that Reverend Henderson made regarding the ordinance that's being amended on Chapter 23, Article 6. In reviewing the draft document, it starts off by saying appropriately that it's an attempt to preserve and protect the rights guaranteed under the First Amendment of the United States and to provide for a safe and orderly use of public property. I feel that is very appropriate. Unfortunately, I have some difficulties understanding how the structure and the flow of the document was changed. It implements a portion where organized at a location on a first-come, first-served basis, as I understand it, what's being proposed. And I think that in the specific situation we're dealing with, that offers more opportunity for confrontation and decreases the aspect of safe and orderly use of public property. So we do request an opportunity to work with the city attorney, whoever is actually drafting this document, to clarify and to work out what we may offer as our options. In a sidewalk event, which applies to us, we are already exceeding the number of 50 participants at our usual Saturday events there. So I don't know if that simply would mean that we would somehow have to make a count, and when we reach 50, we would have to turn somebody away. I feel that that would be a concern we would have with the First Amendment. So we ask for that opportunity to work with the council on clarifying that proposed document. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Chris Dayton?
Howdy. Good to see you back, Dr. Showers, truly. I was reading the agenda. I was actually kind of surprised by this, and it's the 14A, the Article 23. Mr. Henderson and all them, I usually stand on the other side of the street from them, but I completely agree with their right to be there. And I'm really concerned about how this might have infringed on some fundamental First Amendment rights. You know, I gotten a little issue before. I assume this would be illegal under this new statute.
Mr. Dayton, are you asking?
Yeah, I am actually.
Okay. How about say your remarks, then we'll answer it.
All right, okay, that's fine. And that would make me very upset. I mean, I believe in acting really clean, and I believe in my First Amendment, and I think I should be able to stand on sidewalks. I think these guys should be able to stand on sidewalks. I think everybody's entitled to a point of view and be able to express that. And I'm deeply concerned. And, you know, if this goes forward, you know, and there's restrictions in there that I think are unfair, I will get arrested. I will work with the ACLU. I will make a point of, and I'll make an embarrassing point. And I'll be happy to do it. I obviously got spare time. Anyway, the other thing that I just want to say is, like, I saw the other article about us being so excited to have drones flying overhead. And I know that's big money and all this sort of stuff, and heck, I want a drone too. And I know this is kind of what this town's about in a lot of ways. But I also think there's some serious Fourth Amendment questions there. And I'm not sure we want to be that role model. You know, and so I'm here, and I'm looking, the First Amendment's looking like it's getting stepped on. The Fourth Amendment looks like it's getting stepped on. And I just want to make sure y'all are headed in the right direction. So anyway, y'all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Mr. Efron?
Mr. President, members of the council, and Mr. Dayton, and members of the public, I would ask everyone to withhold judgment on the draft amendment until we've had a chance to present it and to explain the reasons for the changes that were being proposed. There's absolutely no intent to infringe on anyone's First Amendment or other constitutional rights. In fact, the opposite is the intent of the changes that are made, so that the ordinance is more in line with more recent Supreme Court decisions respecting the First Amendment freedoms. The intent is to provide more opportunity for honoring those rights, not less. If there is a way to address what Mr. Henderson and others, Reverend Henderson and others have termed as a setup or a propensity for conflict, we'll look at that. But really, the intent behind the draft is to make it more consistent with First Amendment decisions rather than to retain an ordinance that may not be.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dayton, you have to come up to the microphone if you're going to talk, and I really don't want to encourage this debate, but you please come on up since you've already started.
I do want to say one thing. I did notice there was an exception in there if I was selling something. If I were trying to sell something to you, it would be exempted. But if I were trying to communicate how I felt, it wouldn't be.
Miss Jamie, Dot Showers.
Is the chief of police here tonight?
I'm not sure. Is there?
I want him to give us a brief analysis of this introduced item 8,
Mr. Efron can do that.
organized events.
Yes, this is what we discussed earlier. Mr. Efron, would you introduce that again?
Yes, there are not that many substantive changes in the special events ordinance. What it, in its simplest form, what it does is that it defines what a minor event is classified as and larger scale events. And for minor events, it eliminates the need to obtain a reservation or a permit. People can just hold minor events without having to come to the city for that purpose. So it fully recognizes their First Amendment freedoms and rights. It just eliminates a bureaucratic hassle of having to come to the city for permission to do it. Now, if they're still free to request a special event permit, but the special event permit is for a specific period of time, and it's not for a year, it's not for 6 months, it's for the duration of the event. And if they obtain a permit and they vacate the premises or do not continue to exercise or occupy the space during the period of the permit, then the permit expires or is no longer in force and effect. But it actually simplifies it for minor events. This is to comport with more recent Supreme Court decisions which try to remove the bureaucracy from individuals' right to exercise their First Amendment freedom.
Finally, does this amendment, does it define what a minor event is?
Yes, sir, it does. There is a definition section, and it does define what a minor event is.
Thank you.
Mr. Joffrey, good. You had said something earlier I didn't quite understand. This item that we have for introduction tonight, is this more or less the final version, or is it still a work in progress? You were talking about getting some input and talking to people, and I didn't quite understand.
Well, there has been much of this work has been has been prepared over the past year and a half. It's received the input of citizens. It's received the input of every department in the city of Huntsville. And, of course, whatever the council chooses to do with it is within your discretion. It might be good to place it on a work session agenda or at least have some period of time to discuss it and receive your input on it as well.
Since we've had people in the audience who had expressed an interest, I guess I wanted to ask that once we have something that you're proposing that is more or less pretty much the final form, that it would come up at one meeting and then we could do, like we did with the golf course contract, intentionally carried over for a 2-week period so that everyone gets a chance to see it and understands what it is, good, bad, and they can give us, input.
Well, Mr. Kalin, this is what we are proposing to the council.
this is on the internet, and we have 2 weeks till our next meeting, so
Okay.
we can work on it. And if we need more time, we'll take more time. Ma'am, if you'll state your name and address.
Rosalind McDermott, 2602 Benita Circle, Huntsville, Alabama, 35801. And I want to say first that I am so glad to see Councilman Showers back, because I support the service that only he can provide this city, and we sorely need it. And also, I'd like to point out that about the change to the ordinance for events, that as a participant with the Alabama Women's Clinic Defense Group, that no heads up was given to the clinic defense leaders with whom Mr. Joffrey and Captain Brooks and others have been communicating all along that this was going to come up, does seem to leave the impression that the ordinance is probably not in favor of the clinic's activities anyway. And I would suggest that this ordinance has not been publicized enough, and I'm in a little bit of agreement with Mr. Timberlake, who is always complaining about transparency of the government here, and I would like you to maybe make a little bigger effort to outreach for when these kind of ordinances are going to come up. And perhaps there is one thing missing from the city website, which has gotten some kudos for being transparent now, but you can't sign up to get the text of these kind of ordinances and stuff before they come up, and it would be easy to have an email list for this kind of stuff with people sign up for. Everybody in the city who's interested would be immediately alerted and able to participate more. And then I'm also disturbed by the seeming elevation of the rights of commercial entities over First Amendment rights with what you described so far in the ordinance. But I'm more concerned with the rights of the people trying to access the services of the clinic. Now, what you should be doing is trying to help support the FACE Act with a buffer zone. But barring that, if it's not possible, then the council should express their support for completely unfettered clinic access. And unless you do, that will be viewed unfavorably by a great many people in this city. And if the city really wants to commit to not going backwards, like Mr. Showers said, which it should, you need to weigh in support of freedom of access for reproductive health care. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McDermott, the ordinance it was introduced tonight. It wasn't voted on, and it was on the website at Wednesday at 3:30, the same time as everybody else saw it.
I know, and I know that the clinic,
It's my
leaders
turn
have
to
been
talk.
talking.
Yes,
Mr. Russell has the
Yeah.
floor.
yes, ma'am. And I'm just trying to explain to you, it is open. We get it at the same time, basically you do. It goes through the process. Now it's been introduced, and now we can change it at any time or in any way. It's the way the process is, and so there's no way. I mean, it's actually
I know,
a very
but
good
a lot
process.
of-
Ma'am, if you let me finish. So if you would just look on the website, Wednesday at 3:30, you'll see everything that we see.
I
And then we
did
can
see.
choose to vote for it tonight, we can choose to postpone it, but this item was introduced, and the first time we'd vote on it is our next regular meeting. So there's been
Right.
plenty of time for public input. Please contact your councilman, let him know how you feel, and then we'll be working on it. We may have work sessions, we'll just depend on what goes on, but it is an open process,
Right.
and the documents are posted on the website.
Right, but I'm saying a system whereby people who really want to get it right at 3:30 could maybe get it.
Well, I mean, just look on the website at 3:30.
Because it's
right
really
there.
hard between 3:30 and today, now, to get a whole lot of people the notice.
Well,
Whereas some people seem to have had the notice ahead of time.
Well, it's been introduced, you have 2 weeks to notice everybody for the next meeting when we may or may not vote on it.
And you will.
Does anyone else like to address the council at this time? Sir, if you go to the microphone, state your name and address.
Thank you, sir. Reverend James Henderson again. If I may, just to clarify one question regarding a comment Mr. Joffrey made concerning the new events ordinance. I understood, Mr. Joffrey, that we'll have to ask for a separate permit every time we go out to the abortion facility. Is that true?
No, sir. If the group, if your group is small enough to be classified as a minor event, you don't have to ask for anything.
What if we have more than 50 as we do now?
Well, I think your reservation currently is it for 50 or is it for more than 50? It's for
More
100.
than 50?
Yes, if it's for more than 50, then you'd have to ask for a special event permit.
Every time we go out there?
Yes, sir.
In the past, we did that annually. Then it was required semi-annually. Recently, it was done quarterly. That created a lot of conflict and problem every time, especially given that the declared intent of the director of the abortion clinic escorts has been to get us off the public sidewalk, and as you know, has protested every step of the way, every permit we've requested. Now we're in a situation where when we go out every Saturday or any other day such as Wednesday, and we're almost well on the way to 50 on Wednesdays, now the burden for the police department and the burden for us is going to become overwhelming as we generate request after request, week after week, day after day. There's going to be a mountain of requests piled up, and it just seems to me that it's totally unnecessary. As I said before, in good faith, we have something right here that has been worked out on a continuing basis that has been seen as acceptable by all concerned. I just don't understand why this is not acceptable anymore. Could you tell me why we cannot continue with the same agreed upon reservation that we've had for the current term?
Sir, and nothing's been changed right now. You have everything that you've ever had. We're just considering a new ordinance has been introduced, and we haven't voted on it yet.
Yes, sir, I
So
understand.
these are points we'll take into consideration. We appreciate you bringing them up, but we don't have an answer right now.
Yes, sir. I only wanted to state that I see an intent here to generate a bureaucratic process is totally
And there may be an intent. I can't address the intent, but we can discuss that and decide for ourselves what's best. Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to address? Ma'am, please go to the microphone, state your name and address. Ma'am, you can use the one right in front of you if you'd like. Yes, ma'am.
Carol Henderson. I live at 181 Henderson Road, Decatur.
If you could speak into it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Should I redo?
Go ahead.
In reference to Mr. Joffrey and this ordinance, one of my concerns is the explanation of the minor. And it says if there's 50 or less, you don't even have to have a reservation. But it also says that it's first come, first serve. So the first one that puts their foot on the sidewalk is going to be the one there. And if an opposing group comes in, then you have to be 15 feet away from the opposing group. This is going to be a big problem. We've been out there for a long, long time, for many years, and have never come across this situation in the past. The ones that are opposing our being out there actually volunteer for the abortion clinic. So they are working for the abortion clinic. They have access to the abortion clinic and all the property around the abortion clinic that is their private property. So they're volunteering for a specific purpose, and that is to escort the girls in and out, which they are doing. And I think the fact that you might be looking at making this situation a little bit more unworkable by saying whoever gets out there first and then having to separate 15 feet away, we may have, 50 or less where we don't need a reservation. They're there too, so this is just going to be the worst thing that I think it's just not going to be good. They're already there. They work for the abortion clinic volunteering. why do they need access to that sidewalk right there? What are they protesting themselves? We're there because we want to talk to the women that go in. We save babies. A lot of these women are just confused. They need support of people like us there, and we save many babies. But I think what you have here is going to just cause a great problem. What you have right now through the city, what you've worked with the police department is working. Everybody knows, everybody stays within their places that we've been told that we can stay, and right now it's working. I think this is just going to be very confusing, and I think it's going to really cause possibly danger to the people that want to go out, be out there. And you're going to have more problems that the police department is going to have to face. So that's...
Mr. President, if I can suggest that anyone who has questions about the ordinance or would like to meet with me and my staff before this comes back up at the council meeting, we'd be happy to meet with anyone, whether as a group or individually or otherwise, and help clarify, answer your questions, and then you can provide whatever input you would like to council members.
One other quick question. On the information on the minor event, it says here that you can, however, the event organizer may elect to obtain a permitting in accordance with this article, which would be considered a special event. But it doesn't really say that if the opposing group goes under the minor, and they're there on the sidewalk, and we had filled out a special permit at the same time. You know, it's just confusing who's really has the permit, who's really allowed to be there. And if we have a special permit to be there, and they got their foot on the sidewalk first under a minor permit, you know, who's right and who's wrong. So it's not very clear.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson. Would anyone else like to address the council?
Just 1 minute.
Dr. Showers?
Mr. President,